What's up guys, my name is Aiden and it's time for another screencast. So I've been super busy the last couple of weeks. I've been building a lot of web apps for all sorts of clients. And what I want to share with you guys today is my process when I try to choose some kind of UI library for my technology stack. It may be whatever, it may be ASP.NET MVC or it may be Angular 2, React or whatever. So I have this client. I need to build a simple management system to manage their users. They're using ASP.NET Identity and they're using Identity Server. I want to be able to manage these user entities. And there's basically going to be a grid where we can browse users. So what I've thought about here is I want OData enabled backend web API service. I'm probably going to use ASP.NET Core for that. And I want some kind of grid that has OData support to just get the filtering and all that stuff out of the box. I don't want to implement that for myself, paging, all that stuff. I just want it to work once I've connected the grid with an OData service. So I'm not going to focus on the backend today, but as I said, I may do a new screencast where I connect this front side part that we're going to build today together with a backend, which probably will be an ASP.NET Core backend. All right, so when I'm looking for a UI library, I'm looking for a couple of things. I want it to be I want the actor behind the library to be a serious actor and preferably with commercial support, even though we may not use it. I'm not going to use Steve's custom library or Steve's fork from something that's been commercially maintained, but now this one guy or a couple of guys are maintaining it with later versions of frameworks, right? So I want a company that can provide me commercial support with the UI libraries. So with Angular 2, I'd probably go with Material 2, but I just checked they don't have an OData enabled grid out of the box. And I really don't want to spend time building that. Right, so that's one thing I'm looking for. Also, it needs to be open source. I need to be able to check the source if something isn't working, just to figure out what's going on, even if it's not a bug. Sometimes I just check the code to see, oh right, okay, I'm using this wrong. And when we're on that note, I really like good documentation with samples, preferably runnable samples on their site. I love when the company has used the UI library itself to build the documentation. So I've Googled around for a bit and I found out this Kendo UI for Angular. If you check it out here, I'm just browsing their site. So they have, it's Telerik. I've used Telerik before, and they rebranded their UI library to Kendo. So they have Kendo for ASP.NET and stuff like that. And now they have Kendo UI for Angular 2. So I figured I want to check this out because if you take a look here under components, we can see they have this grid system, which is basically what I want to use. So they have nice looking grids straight out of the box, and more importantly, it looks like we can use data binding and fetch data from an OData enabled service. Because if we browse this, I think we should get the data. Right, so here we can see the Northern database API'd with odata.org, and we can just work against this this data source directly from the grid, which is exactly what I'm looking for. So I haven't touched Kendo UI before, so this is my first hands-on experience with using Kendo UI together with Angular 2. And let's see if it's good enough for us to use in my project that I have to deliver to my client in a couple of weeks. All right, so first of all, let's get here let's go over to the overview page and just hit the Get Started button. And if you just scroll over the instructions, it doesn't look too hairy, and by the end I think we should have something that looks like this. Right, cool, so that doesn't seem bloody. Let's just check the prerequisites. Yeah, we have the Angular CLI tool installed, and that's pretty cool that they are using that. And we have all the other things set up as well. Cool. So installation, we're gonna probably need to get this from their repo, right? And we need to have a Telerik account, which is kind of a bummer. Let's check this out if it costs anything, just to get started. If you don't have one, create one. It's free. All right, cool. So I'm gonna go ahead and sign up for an account, and I guess if it's good enough, maybe we can use it for free. I don't know, or we can pay to use it. But anyways, I want to be able to evaluate the framework before we actually decide if we want to go with this or not. Alright, so we're back and I've signed up. It looks legit, everything was free. And let's try to sign in. And the username should be everything before the @ sign. So that would be Aiden, then my password, then my email, sure. Alright, so we are logged in. And let's check out if we can fetch things from their repo. And it looks so. So we are able to fetch npm packages from their repo, which is cool. All right. So we already installed Angular CLI. If you haven't done that, go ahead and do that globally. And now let's create a new Kendo UI quick start project. Let's just use the commands here and see if everything works as is. And if it does, that's usually a big thumbs up that they actually provide the documentation that I'm able to follow without getting any errors. So we're just scaffolding up a new Angular 2 project here. And we're telling it that we want to use Sass to compile our CSS. All right, and after we've installed that, we're gonna change the directory into the newly created project, and it looks like they want us to install the Angular buttons module, and I'm guessing it's because this button actually lives within that module, right? I'm gonna add styles as well, and that's really good. I don't want it to have anything to do with styles. I'm really bad with design. I just want to throw it together and then just let the designer customize the look and feel, so we don't get the exact look and feel that the Kendo UI guys have given us. But if you don't have the resource for that, it's totally fine to use it as is because it really looks decent. Alright, so I'm gonna pause here until this is done. Alright, so we are done installing, and let's just keep on copying the code from their getting started guide to see if it works just by following these steps. So let's change the directory, obviously that one works. And let's install the buttons module. And we are logged in to the npm repo, so we're not gonna we're probably not gonna need to log in again. Let's just make sure, right? We're installing this stuff. That is good. And then if we open up VS Code and let's open app.module.ts, and okay, let's use the workspace version of TypeScript, and they want us to import the buttons module. Let's do that. So let's see if we can find these things. Hopefully we're done installing. Yep, we've installed that, and hopefully we should find it under progress. Right, Kendo Angular buttons, cool. And what you want to install from there is the buttons module. That's gonna go in there, buttons module, cool. And we're just gonna pass that into our imports. Right, so let's see, I don't think we need to do anything more, right? That is our app.module.ts changes. And now let's open up the HTML and we can just copy paste this as is. We're gonna throw in a Kendo button there, and they want us to change the component.ts to handle the on button click, obviously, so let's do that. Gonna open up app component.ts and let's throw this in there. Format document, right? Save it up. All right, so this seems like they want us to just serve it. Before we do that, yeah, let's add a theme as well. Why not? Just copy paste in the command, right? And open up our styles.sass, just replace it with whatever they told us to replace it with. Right, this should be it. So this is the getting started guide, and let's just do an ng serve. All right, so we are serving the application. Let's open this up. And the app works. We have the Kendo UI button that has the Kendo UI look and feel, and if you press the button, everything works. We don't have any errors. So that was really good. All right, so getting started was super simple. We just followed the steps by copy pasting the commands, so I have a good feel about Kendo UI for a moment. But once again, I know these guys are really professional. They've done some good component libraries before. But as we can see, this is what I'm looking for. I don't want to start off with getting a bunch of errors when I try to get up and running with somebody else's library. Right, so this is really awesome. Now let's step it up a notch and come to the grid. And hopefully this should be as easy to do as well. So let's just install the Angular grid. And once we install that, we're gonna need to import it, right? So we can actually skip the button part. If you come here to app.module, you can skip the buttons module there. Maybe we're gonna use that as well. Why not? Let's keep it. But we're gonna get, once we've done installing, okay, unmet peer dependency, we're probably gonna need to install that as well then, I'm guessing. Right, so let's do that. First of all, why can't I find the Angular grid? Kendo Angular grid. What do we have in here? Grid module, cool. And let's see here about that unmet dependency, right? So we are already starting to run into trouble, but hey, let's not be that harsh. Let's just install Kendo data query as well. Kendo data query. Right, but we're gonna pass in the grid module down here together with the button module. Let's keep that Kendo UI stuff. So I'm gonna put up the source on GitHub as always, so you guys can just clone my repo and hopefully just run it as well. All right, so now we installed the dependency. Let's switch back here. So we are importing the grid module, and here we can see the dependencies are right. We get RxJS by using the Angular CLI, and we just installed the Kendo data query dependency as well. And we have common and core from Angular, obviously, since we just scaffolded the project. So Kendo Angular intl is installed automatically. Cool. Why not install Kendo data query automatically as well, since that's a dependency? Just an opinion. Right, so let's just throw in the grid data. Oh, this is cool. Run the code. Oh, cool. So this is an excellent sample, an excellent demo of components. I really like this, to be able to run the code and it doesn't jump out to Plunker or anything else. They have their own playground, which is really neat. All right, so let's come back to component.ts and put in some private data and add this to the UI. Let's add that down there. Right, I'm just copy pasting code here, and if this works, I'm really impressed. Right, let's come back and serve the application. Right, so this is taking a real long time to type ng-serve, but hopefully I'm not gonna need to do that anymore. I've installed all the dependencies. Just bear with me now. Refresh. No errors. Right, it just works. So this is really cool. So far, so good. So the last requirement for the front-end part of the grid is to support OData, which is this guy right here, data binding. All right, so let's implement this part as well. And if it goes as smoothly, I'm probably gonna go ahead and use Kendo UI for Angular 2 for this next client project that I'm gonna have to deliver. All right, so let's take a look at the data binding part. And in this example, they've put everything into one code sample here, and we are able to run it. And funny, I mentioned Plunker because this is sandbox from the Plunker, right? Yep, right. But anyways, it opens in their own site, which gives me a better look and feel. Anyways, so this looks pretty good. I can fetch and page data. Let's see if we can get this running locally as well, and take a look at what happens behind the scenes. And yeah, we'll take it from there. So I'm not going to put everything into one file like these guys are doing. Let's actually go ahead and kill this just really quick and jump into source app, and then scaffold a new service. Let's call it a data service. And yep, it was generated, but it isn't provided. Must be provided. Right, let's do that. Before that, let's just serve this guy up again in the background while we do this. Open up app module. And now if we take a look here, we should have something called data service, right? Which doesn't do anything yet, but we're gonna need to provide it to our app, to our app. And gonna do this really simple for us here. We're gonna just get it. I'm not gonna put it in a module. I'm just gonna get it from the data service file. And we should be able to find data service in there, right? And make sure to provide it. Now let's switch back and take a look at what this service does. So it's an injectable. It extends the behavior subject of the data grid result, right? And it has a base URL that fetches data from this OData enabled service, and then basically exposes a public method called query, which takes in some kind of state object and fetches data, and then just maps it up. Okay, so let's just take this. We're gonna extend that as well. Let's jump into our data service. This behavior subject we're gonna need to import that, but let's just get everything in here to make sure we get it all. Right, so we're gonna need the observable part, data grid result, and the behavior subject. Right, so the data grid result from there, and the OData string. I'm gonna need these guys as well. Right, since we're importing the HTTP service. Right, so let's see if we can get this to compile. We're importing behavior subject, observable. We don't need a grid component. We don't need this guy either. Just bear with me now. Hopefully we'll be up and running soon. Right, this looks like it should compile. Saved it up. And the ultimate test, obviously, is to try to import it into our components. Right, let's get rid of a bunch of stuff here. We don't need that. Let's get rid of that. And let's try to keep it clean. And get... Okay, so we got the service part. I'm kind of starting to regret that I splitted this up. I could have just went ahead and put everything into one file. But what the heck, I've started now. So we're gonna declare a couple of private variables in our app component. Can get the constructor as well, why not? And after the view is initialized, we're gonna subscribe for changes, but we're gonna do the query in the constructor. Yeah, I don't know about that. I probably do it on ng-init, but let's just take this and put it in here. We're gonna need a couple of things here. Grid component. Our service is called data service, right? So we're gonna need to get that as well. Can actually take that from, copy paste that from here. Okay, we got the data service part. We're gonna need the observable part as well. Let's get a couple of things here. I think we can get rid of this guy, right? Grid components, we're gonna need that. Data result, the changed event, yep. Right, and the view child, right? So I missed a couple of things here at the top. ng-init extends ng-init. Doesn't look like we're using ng-init, right? Okay. Am I missing something here? Just need to view child, right? Right. Let's save that up. Right, so basically we took all the stuff here. We skipped a couple of things, and right, so we're gonna need the HTML part as well. We're not gonna need to provide it to our component. We already provided it in our app module. Let's just get the template. And looks like we should be able to go after that. All right, let's save that up. Take a look at our Webpack working in the background. Refresh, no errors. Right, cool. So we are fetching data from the service. If we take a look here and on the queries, we can see that we are using OData query params here to fetch data. So if we page, we can see that we paged by skipping 5 and then taking the next 5, and we got the count as well. So that's pretty cool, right? So in a couple of minutes with that, right? We haven't enabled sorting or anything like that, so we can probably do that as well. But I think I've seen enough, really. I think this component is an excellent choice. You really need to get up and running with it, and I need to deliver this solution in a couple of weeks, and I don't want to spend any time developing a grid. And purchasing a license for this won't be an issue for this customer. And I think they're gonna be really satisfied with this. So I've showed you guys how I usually evaluate some products. I may regret this. My decision may be a bit fast here, but I've worked with Telerik before with their components, and I really like both the support and their documentation. And we're not going to use that much to begin with, but as always, we're probably going to extend the app and use more and more components. Right, but the grid looks really promising. So maybe for next time, we'll implement our own OData service using ASP.NET Core. And as always, have a nice day, guys. And until next time, keep curious. Bye.